Kwei, Ani, Bojo, Tanzi, greetings, my friend. It's just so exciting this month. I was excited last reading 2 weeks ago. I'm even more excited. Of course, my birthday's in a few days. It's a full moon of my birth cycle, and I'm feeling the energy of Gemini and Venus, and the planets moving into Pisces, or Venus moving into Pisces for about 2.5 weeks, and it's just a loving, wonderful month. So I was inspired by Spirit to use some different cards for today, and I'll get into that, but I wanted to remind you all that where we are in the wheel here. So we're halfway through this third moon cycle. So we're heading with great speed to the next new moon and spring equinox. So we're not that far away from spring equinox. Like basically this is a period of just over 3 weeks. So it's an exciting time. It's a growth time. The temperatures are starting in the daytime to be above zero, and when they are below zero at night, that allows the sap to run. So I mentioned last time that the earth is waking up and the energy is coming up through into the earth. Now the trees are literally waking up and their sap is beginning to flow. So I thought I would remind people about the concepts of Ways the Truth, the grandmother of this moon cycle. I know I read the description last time, but I really think it's appropriate to discuss her from the point of view of the importance, her importance right now. So let me just grab my sheet. She is the grandmother that helps us find balance. Balance with the truth, not the truth we fabricate to justify something, the self-truth, but the truth that's created when we look at the entirety of the spiritual web. What is right in the greater good? What is right when I consider all perspectives from all points of view? So, Ways the Truth is the keeper of equality and the guardian of justice, the fair judge of divine law and the destroyer of deception, the mother of truth and protectress of the underdog, the mother of self-determination and responsibility. She teaches us how to find the ability to respond and how to be self-determined, how to feed the positive, not the negative, by using divine law. How to use equality with justice, being accountable for our actions and words. How to use personal integrity, ethics, and values to find healing solutions. How to accept the truth, because sometimes it's a bitter pill to swallow what's true and what we have to do when we have to pull on our big person panties and do it. No victim mode here. And it's interesting, I read that because when I pulled the cards for today, the very first card, justice, balance, truth, integrity. So it's important that the cards are validating. I want to talk about the nature of the kinds of rituals we do, and I've been struggling with whether to make a separate video on rituals or whether to talk about possible rituals with each of these videos. And I don't want to overwhelm people with a lot of videos and information. So I also started new medication, very unusual medication for the rheumatoid arthritis that's made me quite ill, and I just the stamina aspect, so I had to go with that flow, and consequently make it so that it worked for me and worked for the greater good. There's no rush to this. These rituals have been developed over 38,000 years that Indigenous people have been on Turtle Island. So, you know, we can take the time that it needs and not try to push the river. It's important to look at the concept of self-deception, self-truth, and balance. And when I looked at the cards, I started to say a few minutes ago, the cards came to me very differently this week. We were getting ready. Brian was dealing with the dogs, you know, because we have to shut them out of where we film. And I normally would use some very specific decks of cards. I have my go-tos. Out of 900 and some decks, I have my go-tos for this particular video. However, this week they wanted the Egyptian Lenormand. If you don't have that in your stash, by all means consider it. The woman is an Egyptian doctor who wrote it, and her cards are beautiful, but it connects me with Isis. So Spirit has never asked for that deck for this reading. I also received from MJ Coulinane the Crow Oracle. I've had the Crow Tarot for some years, but the Crow Oracle is a new one. And the bird totems, the ones that fly closest to the Creator, the chieftains, the priest class, if you want to call it that, in our clans, spoke very much. And our crows are waking up. They're very territorial. They're very strict with how things go in crow life, especially in our group. Our murder of crows in the back are quite territorial. So I asked them for their guidance about what we need to collectively and individually to make sure that we are following our shamanic paths, because each and every person here has the capacity to walk a shamanic path, to go into their inner selfhood, to go into their Gnostic consciousness, to fly in the dream time with the ancestors. We can all do that. We are built for that. Ancestrally, we all come from cultures that have shamanic traditions, and these shamanic traditions are, 95% consistent within all shamanic cultures. So let me go through the reading for today. I can hardly believe it. So the first card I showed you was the Justice card, and it's about the balance. It's about getting out of the doldrums. We've been stuck in this mucky mire, like, a tyrannosaur getting its feet stuck in the La Brea tar pits and being sucked down and turned into coal. We are not needing to stay in that place. We need to get out of the funk we've all been in. The earth is waking up, and it will leave us behind if we don't find the truth. We really are coming out of this pandemic. We really, really are. So, the Egyptian Lenormand card was clover. You see in the background of this card that the clover sits in front of a pyramid. Pyramid is the ancient sacred geometry symbol. It's the keeper of the death and rebirth rituals. Keep that in mind. On the back of this card is the Eye of Horus. We'll talk about that. And as I sat with, by the way, as I sat with this, I got the sense that it was Isis, the goddess Isis, the Egyptian physician, the great healer who had her brother Osiris rise from the dead. She is dominant in a lot of my communication with spirit in the last few years. And both personally, for my own personal growth, development, and healing, and in terms of what I bring to the masses. So I think that was the impetus for including this Lenormand. But anyway, these two cards, Justice and the good luck, good fortune of Clover. We are coming into a time of good fortune. We are going to create that fortune, and that's important to remember, but that's where we are right now. As we move into spring equinox, you just can't make this stuff up. It's the Nine of Cups, completion of a cycle. We have the capacity, the foundation. We have built the pyramid, as it were. The eternal structure, it's us and our integrity that has built that as individuals. And as sad the overlying feelings of withdrawal and depression for some, just know that we are coming into a place of emotional completion and balance, and we will rise better. 9 numerologically is a sign of completion. The card that I pulled, having shuffled very well, poor Brian sits and watches me shuffle for 20 minutes to pull cards before we ever do these. And the card that I got was a card called Activation. And it's unique to this Egyptian set. She's made 2. And so there are more cards than the standard 36 in a Petite Lenormand in this instance. So we've got the Eye of Horus, both sides. We've got another pyramid. But the element is activation. Well, of course, it's spring. But we have to be on top of what we create. Everything is created from thoughts and visions. So, the cautionary note here by the South, we have to be aware. This is the Judgment card from the Naked Heart Tarot in the protection position. And the message I got for that was, are we hyper-judging? Are we shutting down thoughts because we don't think they are doable? We have to remember that the butterfly is transition, transcendence. It's like dragonfly. It is the coming out of the cocoon. We are coming out of a cocoon. And it takes a little while for the butterfly. And if we interfere with that cocoon and try to help a butterfly emerge, we kill it. It has to come out on its own terms. But we can't kill it, our cocoon, with our judgment. The companion Egyptian card that came out of this is heart, love, love of self, love of life, happiness, companionship, partnership, and joy. We are co-creating this with the divine, the creator, God. And this manifests, this is in the south position of the medicine wheel. And just when I got giddy and thought this can't be a better reading, I get the 10 of Pentacles. Beautiful elephant. We are beginning a new cycle. 10s are endings and beginnings. The 9 is really the absolute ending, but the 10 is there to say we're starting a new cycle based on a foundation of incredible security, believe it or not. Don't prejudge the security. We're not talking about whether we have enough money at the end of the month in our bank account for something. That's not the kind of security they're talking about. It's about the whole global changes. So by the fall, by the autumn, by here on the wheel, we will be seeing the evolution of society, the evolution of banking, the evolution of the world order. It's like a new world order in the most positive sense. So what spooked me was when I pulled the Egyptian card to go with this, I got the other activation card. There are 2 in this deck. There are 40-some cards in this deck. This is again the Eye of Horus, the pyramid. This is like smacked me in the head, could have had a V8 kind of moment. Like, this is Spirit telling us incredibly important message about we are the visionaries. So this full moon on the weekend, and I didn't even give you the time of that full moon, and I will right now. This full moon is 3:17 a.m. on February 27th. So that's Saturday, okay? So your Friday night is not a Netflix night. Your Friday night is doing your rituals. So you go to bed with the intention of manifesting through your ritual what you create. Now, I always go to the Judith Pintar cards for specifically information from the ancestors. And I got, in the here and now, our vision manifests something in the future. This is absolutely true. We've got this card before, specifically in these readings. We are building new beginnings. We are planning for the 7 generations to come. The next card to it is what you vision in your mind, the Creator sees. You go from the tonal, where everything has a name, to the Nagual. You are the shaman of your own life. What we get is the need for stillness to create. You can't be running around now that the stores are open like a chicken with your head cut off. You have to be cognizant and still. So go out in nature, as I asked you last time. And the last card in the north is vision. So we are creating for a year. We are creating with the ancestors, the star people. 3 of these cards that had a collective grouping were out of vision. We must be balanced. We must be emotionally in a good place. We must invite the activation. And we must not hyper-judge. And how we don't hyper-judge what we're creating is with our heart, coming from our heart. There's a saying about to be in an ascension mode, you have to think through the heart and feel through the mind. That is the perfect yin and yang. So I went to the crows and I said, okay, crows, you sit down here. Crow sits here on the medicine wheel. Crow is the call to shaman. Crow shapeshifts between a shaman and the bird, and it flies, one of the birds that flies highest, closest to the Creator, and allows us to go through from the tonal to the Nagual in the dream time. I asked Crow, what would stop us from manifesting our shaman selves? First card was fear. Pretty much. Fear of ourselves, fear of failure, fear of success. The other thing is seeing ourselves stand out as an anomaly. This is a white albino crow sitting amongst a group of black crows. We are all unique. We are not anomalous. We are made to function as individual representations of spirit on earth. We are a spiritual being having a physical experience. There is nothing wrong with us or our uniqueness. What Crow reminds us of, this is the card called observation. Observation. We must stand back. The observer always stands back in a place of stillness and contemplation, observing the greater picture. And finally, Crow said, don't be afraid to soar. Absolutely. That's what we get with all of this reading. I have chills just telling you this. And I think it's important to recognize that Isis, if you read anything about her history, her ancient Egyptian history, she took no crap. She was an arbiter and a judge and a balance keeper. And by the way, this heart card also has a scale on it, like this card. We have to keep our heart in balance and not overjudge. So new moons are about beginning things, about starting things up, setting the energies in motion, sitting in our place of vision, creating. When we get to full moons, it's about letting go that which no longer serves us. By this full moon on the 27th, we need to be prepared once and for all to let go of that which doesn't serve us. And having been forced to live in close relation with people, having disconnect for a long time from friends, we have a good time here in the next couple of days to analyze who we need to let go of. Not just what, but who. So, as much as I don't like to suggest this ritual, Spirit is emphatic that I do, because normally this Spirit is done with a shaman. And if anybody is having trouble doing this, we can do it over Skype or Microsoft Teams or something like that. If you really want the assistance that I was trained as a shaman, that you're supposed to do this with a shaman. But it's called cutting the tie that binds. You need to take a piece of cotton rope, cotton, linen, flax, hemp, not string, not butcher cord, and nothing with plastic in it. No plastic, because part of this piece of rope gets burned. So I need you to sit down and very carefully on a paper decide who you need to release from your life permanently. They're still on your web. They're still in the web. We can love them from a distance. We never have to have anything to do with them again. But it's the people, this can be the job that you have, and the people that you just aren't going to go back to. This can be a partner. This can be the child that you just can't see eye to eye with. This can be something, somebody, something, somewhere that you just need to end it and stop dragging yourself backwards, because that's going to stop you. When you're focused on that stuff, you cannot be in stillness with the visions to create the life and ultimately the world. We're not ever visioning for the world. What we have to do is get our own house, our spiritual house, in order by getting ourselves in alignment one by one, like the domino effect. We get the world in order. We still have to think kindly of these people, but basically you take your piece of cord, as long as it needs to be, and you make a knot on one extreme end of it that represents you. Tie some ribbons on it, do whatever. You need to smudge before you ever start this, by the way. I'm assuming you know that, but I shouldn't assume. You smudge to open your ceremony. You call in the ancestors' relations. You know how to smudge. You get your cord. You have written down the people that you are going to demark on this cord. But you're not only writing their names down, you're answering the question, why? Why am I releasing them, and can I see myself not having them in my life for the rest of my life? So you got your knot on the one end, and from the other end of the cord you start making knots, one after the other, for people's, places, situations that involve people that need to go. And when you are done and you feel it is complete, and be very careful here that you do, because we don't do this all the time. We do this once or twice in a lifetime. I want you to cut the knots off your cord that represent the people that need to go. Take the piece of paper, take it to a place of safe burning. It can be a barbecue, it can be a pot, it can be a burning pot, it can be whatever, but it has to be a safe place, and it has to be done on some time between the day before and the day after full moon when this ceremony is done. It isn't complete without the burning. I don't care if you throw it in your fireplace. But basically you have to send and transmute the energy. You raise the vibration and you are removing people from your life. It's very freeing. Now, you're cutting the cords, so the people may still come into your life, but what you're doing is changing the nature of the dynamic you have between them. As I say, I take no responsibility here for how you do this, and if you want some help, reach out. But in the meantime, know that the circumstances are in alignment for us to have the most glorious next 2 weeks until the full moon. Actually, the next full moon, a month from now, is a super full moon in perigee, so we'll be doing some really groovy shamanic stuff for that. But for the next 2 weeks before the new moon, I want you to be safe. I want you to be well. I want you to recognize that we are all in this together, so that if you do send somebody off, cut the tie that binds you, you're cutting the karmic ties. They may not completely disappear from your life, but you're changing the nature of your relationship, and you need to vision the new relationship you have with them. As always, I will post these on social media and on our blog. For the past 15 years, I've run a blog on Blogger called Moonstar Lodge Musings. You're always welcome to stop in on Blogger and look at that. Please like this video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. That helps. You can even send a donation to the website. We're always that will always help us to stay afloat in these times. So I would like to thank the ancestors who have been present here today, Miigwech, Nyowen, and wish you peace. Oh.